Play.
Partly cloudy this afternoon, 17, with the 3 o'clock news. I'm Michaela Kamarek. COVID cases have spiked to an alarming new high in South Australia. 5,054 new infections have been reported today. Hospitalisations have also increased to 354, with 12 in ICU. While another 7 people have died with the virus in their 70s, 80s and 90s. Modelling shows daily case numbers will peak at 6,000 in the coming weeks, and up to 400 people will be in hospital each day. Health Minister Chris Picton says there are things people can do to help protect themselves.
Absolutely calling on people to go forward and make sure that their vaccines are up to date, get tested, not go to work if they're feeling sick, and calling on people to make sure that they're wearing masks and socially distancing. And also, if you do test positive for COVID, make sure that you get access to the antivirals, because they can make a huge difference.
It's been revealed fragments of foot and mouth disease have been found in an undeclared beef product at Adelaide Airport. It's caused alarm after another discovery in imported meat in Melbourne. David Jockhinke from the National Farmers Federation says food contamination poses the biggest risk of infection.
Anyone, when they fill out that declaration card, that is there for a reason. It isn't about you getting out of the airport 5 minutes quicker. It is about protecting your way of life, the ability for agriculture to deliver clean, safe, affordable food to you at the supermarket. And that is at jeopardy when we talk about biosecurity and making sure we're doing the right thing.
A 71-year-old Adelaide man has been charged with multiple counts of rape, indecent assault, unlawful detention and firearms offences. Police allege the incident happened between January 2017 and September last year. He'll face court this afternoon. The victim was known to him. The Prime Minister is being accused of fuelling division over Australia's climate change policy. Labor will introduce a bill to legislate its 43% emissions reductions target when Parliament resumes next week. It may reach a roadblock in the Senate if the Greens don't back it. The opposition's Anne Ruston says it doesn't need to be made law.
I suppose the disappointing thing about this debate right now is right the way through the election campaign, Mr Albanese was saying that he wanted to end the climate wars, he wanted to end the energy wars. This is a completely unnecessary piece of legislation that he is bringing forward.
Boris Johnson has faced his final sitting of Parliament as British Prime Minister. He's moving on after almost 3 years in office. He left his successor with some advice, saying they should stay close to the US and stick up for Ukraine.
Focus on the road ahead, but always remember to check the rear-view mirror. And remember, above all, it's not Twitter that counts. It's the people that sent us here.
Now turning to FIVEAA Sport, the teams will come out tonight for Crows and Port Adelaide ahead of their round 19 matches this week. It's do or die for Port, who played Geelong on Saturday. The Power are a game and percentage outside the top 8. Defender Dan Houston says they're taking it 1 week at a time.
If the mathematics say that we can still make the finals, then we're obviously going to believe that, and we're going to keep pushing to make ourselves better to get something out of the end of the year and push for potential final spot.
The Crows play Sydney at the SCG on Saturday as well. St Kilda's Paddy Ryder says he still wants to play on in 2023. The out-of-contract 34-year-old could miss the rest of the season after he strained his calf in their loss to the Western Bulldogs last weekend. Ryder says he's still got good football left in him and he's hoping contract talks will start soon.
We've just been focused on playing footy, winning games and everything like that, so it hasn't been on the forefront of my mind, but I'm sure over the next couple of weeks, now that I've got a bit of time, there'll be some conversations happening.
And England has defeated Spain 2-1 to move into the semi-finals at the Women's Euros. Now checking FIVEAA traffic.
Urgent gas works at Salisbury Heights on Main North Road near Saints Road has a lane closure in place and down to 40 outbound. At Sturt, changed traffic conditions on Marion Road at South Road. In the Parklands, Rundle Road is closed between East Terrace and Decaturville Terrace for the Illuminate Festival. Down to 40 at Woodville Port Road inbound from Cheltenham Parade to Kilkenny Road. And the speed camera Fletcher Road, Birkenhead. Shopping around now for the latest 5G phone at Optus. You can get the best price guaranteed. Visit Optus in-store or check out the Optus 5G phone price match online today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
For Gold Service Audiology, book your free consult today at connecthearing.com.au.
Partly cloudy this afternoon, 17. Cloudy tomorrow, 17. Saturday, mostly sunny, 18. And Sunday, showers developing, 19. Right now, it's 16 degrees. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News Tonight.
The latest on the case of little Charlie. Why wasn't she going to school? Potentially devastating foot and mouth disease lands in Adelaide. SA COVID cases top 5,000. An urgent national safety recall of 2 children's toys. The simple weight loss trick that now has expert backing. Plus, what's driving an Aussie retail boom. I'm Kate Collins. See the full story on 9 News Tonight at 6.
$13.95, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
You better get a lawyer, son. You better get a real good one. You better get a lawyer, son. You better get a real good one.
Welcome back to Afternoons. It's 8 minutes past 3 o'clock and it is time to talk to our lawyer. And he is a good one. Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Jade. Thanks for having me.
Good one today because it's off the back of a couple of conversations that we've been having across 5AA in the last couple of weeks. Earlier in the week, we spoke to Rex Jory from The Advertiser about an incident that he had over the weekend. He was at Marion Shopping Centre going down some escalators and a kid on a e-scooter collected him. He fell over. The kid turned around, laughed in his face and continued on his merry way. That riled a hell of a lot of people, and what a little scumbag for not even stopping to say, hey, you okay? And I'm sorry. But there's also another story. David and Will spoke to a lady by the name of Diana Reid on Tuesday morning about an experience that she had. She was badly knocked over from an e-scooter as well. This is her story.
To use one in Adelaide, you need to be 18, which means you log into the app in order to hire one. And I haven't done it myself. I've got no interest in doing it myself. But you log in and you must have to say, yes, I'm 18.
Yeah, right.
And she has bypassed that. I contacted the council and said, look, I've been hit. And at the time they were like, did you get the number of the scooter and whatnot? And I'm like, well, I was a little bit in shock at the time, so no, I didn't. But what happened is they because they all got GPS, they managed to work out who it was. I had to do a police report. Beam Scooters gave the information to the police, and that's how I found out. She's a 15-year-old girl of very well known to police, apparently, no fixed address, and has been, using a credit card that wasn't in her name, and they have doubts that she probably had permission to use it. So everything that could be wrong about that was wrong. So Beam does have third-party insurance. The thing is that this is basically junk insurance, and this is what's coming out more and more, including about Julia Miller, who got hit in Melbourne recently and had the shoulder replacement. They have rules with their insurance that if the person who hires the scooter doesn't follow the terms and conditions basically of the hire, then the insurance is void. For Julia's case, the person wasn't wearing a helmet, and mine, she was underage. If you sort of look around and see who actually is hiring the scooters in Adelaide, it's not, middle-aged people getting around on them. It is quite young people, possibly not 18, it's hard to tell. And they're the ones that are potentially causing damage, and certainly heaps of near misses. The amount of people that have reported near misses to me is incredible, and the amount of people that are fearful on the footpath now is significant, because footpaths that have people, not for scooters going at least 3 times as fast as someone can walk.
Just circle back on the comments with regard to your interactions with the police, Diana. So they say this person, underage, got some priors maybe, nabbed, the credit card's not there. But what's the upshot of that? Where have they left it? Is it sort of are they doing something about it, or is it a shoulder shrug?
It's a bit of a shoulder shrug. Apparently she has other warrants out against her as well, and, there's not a lot they can do. But they also said to me there was no laws that they can apply to this. So it's not assault, even though she hit me with a 20-kilo object. Traffic laws don't apply because they're not on the road. There's this real gap that because the council has been in a trial for 3 years, at least. I'm not exactly sure when it started. I think sometime in 2019. The government hasn't done anything to create laws to protect people or sort of regulate them, so speeds, where they can be ridden, those sorts of things. And the council hasn't pushed for it either, or used their powers to require the scooter companies to slow down. Like, if you consider where I was hit, right adjacent to Rundle Mall, that's actually busier for pedestrians because people are waiting for the traffic light than actually Rundle Mall.
Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers. Hearing that, I'm just shaking my head. It sounds like we've got no rights at all.
Yeah, look, in that article that was published that day, Diana Reid went on to say that her foot's so bad she can no longer walk to work, she can't walk on the beach, and she's living with a certain amount of pain in her foot and ankle. So it's no small injury that she sustained, and it's completely foreseeable because, as she says, these are 20-kilogram bikes. And to be honest, I think they probably weigh a fair bit more than that. And if they're going at 20 kilometres an hour and they run into you, it's quite clear they're going to hurt. And we're also talking about really young people walking on footpaths, really old people walking on footpaths, people that are just not going to be able to dodge an e-scooter. So, look, it's a interesting one, the insurance side of it. So in this particular case, the insurance that is available is $1 million cover for one claim. So that would mean that if all of the policy conditions were met, then she would be entitled to claim damages up to that sum of money. Okay, so in that sense, yes, there's insurance, so that's good. The problem, of course, is that that insurance is immediately null and void if whoever has hired the scooter has breached any of the rules.
Which this person had.
Yes, and of which I must say that, you know, there's quite a few rules to break. So you have to be 18, you have to be wearing an approved helmet, you can only be on the road when you're crossing an obstruction, you must not ride in a bike lane, you must use a bell, you mustn't exceed 15 kilometres an hour, you must not ride abreast, you must not carry passengers, you must not have a blood alcohol level of over 0.05 or be in the presence of cannabis, meth or ecstasy, and you must not be using a mobile phone. Now, I don't know about you, but I think just about every e-scooter rider I've seen has been breaching at least one of those.
I would have thought so, especially those probably after 9 or 10 o'clock in the city and can't get a taxi.
Yeah.
So jump on board.
Yeah.
And the helmets are sometimes done up, sometimes not.
Yep. So in this particular case, there's no way that the cover was going to apply because, according she was apparently 15.
So boom, gone straight away.
She had a passenger gone. She was smoking. So
how
she
is that Diana's fault though?
And this is the problem, isn't it? Is that you're not. You simply have no choice in these things. If you're hit by someone that doesn't tick all of these boxes, simply no insurance will cover you. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't go on and sue the person. You could identify them. You could ask the platform provider of the scooter to provide you with certain information so you could contact them, presumably, lodge a police report and maybe track them down if you're lucky. But if you sue a 15-year-old, it is very unlikely that they're going to have any assets or income to pay a judgment. So it would be it wouldn't be a victory of sorts.
So here's this woman who's been injured and needs to pay for all her own medical bills just because she got up one day and left to go home from work and just chose to leave at the wrong moment.
Yeah, through absolutely no fault of her own. So there's clearly an issue, I think, in that type of coverage where it really is meaningless for a majority of people that are probably going to come a cropper. And the other issue is that the riders that are most likely to hurt someone are indeed going to be young people. They're going to be people that are drunk. They're going to be people who are not meeting the conditions of the policy. People who are sober, who are 18, who are wearing the appropriate helmet, who's using a bell, all of these things, they're probably not going to be someone that would hit someone. They're probably going to be someone that's going to be really careful and not cause any harm. But you have unfettered access to it, effectively. This girl's used apparently a stolen credit card, so she's got online and got it. And the moment she's on it, she's an accident waiting to happen.
Sounds like it, doesn't it? We'd love to hear from you if you've had a close call or been hit. Not sure what to do. We would like to hear from you. 8223 0000.
Introducing Australia's Most Wanted. Unanimously judged as Cars of the Year. The fully electric Kia EV6, winner of Wheels Car of the Year. And the Kia Sportage, Drives Car of the Year. To pick your side in this sibling rivalry, visit kia.com.au.
Kia. Movement that inspires.
Sometimes needing new tyres can catch us by surprise. That's why Tyre Power gives you the power of zip pay and zip money. You can get what you need now, get back on the road safely and pay for it later. Terms and conditions apply. So visit tyrepower.com.au or call 13 21 91.
Growing up, the best part of school holidays was always going to the movies. If you had kids in the 90s, you probably remember taking them to Toy Story. This school holidays, go down memory lane, take the kids or the grandkids to Lightyear at Reading Cinemas. There's plenty for kids to see at Reading Cinemas, like the hilarious Minions, The Rise of Gru, and Thor, Love and Thunder, action, nostalgia and comedy in spades. And there's nothing better than seeing it from the comfort of a recliner in the Titan Luxe Cinema with explosive sound. If you're after something for yourself, take your partner to see the movie everyone's talking about, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. Rock and roll is back with a spectacle. You'd expect nothing else, really, from Baz, would you? See it all at Reading Cinemas, Elizabeth and Westlakes. Kids tickets from just $13 at readingcinemas.com.au. That's readingcinemas.com.au.
Who am I? I can be a physio in the morning, or maybe a beautician. In the afternoon, I could be a fashion retailer. I even run a travel agency at night.
She's none of these. She's a scammer, and her specialty is businesses. Scammers might hack your emails, imitate your invoices, and get your customers to pay into their account instead of yours. But they can't if your customers pay using new tech PayID. Contact your bank about PayID for your business. Australian banks, working to protect you.
Let Phil Hoffman Travel and Abercrombie & Kent help you see the world exactly how you want to see it. Travel on a private A&K tailor-made journey in more than 100 countries across 6 continents. Stay in hand-picked accommodation, travel with private drivers and guides, and enjoy exclusive insider access privileges. With an extensive network of local travel experts worldwide, A&K sets the benchmark for luxurious tailor-made travel. Create your dream holiday with Phil Hoffman Travel and A&K. Visit pht.com.au.
G'day, what you looking at? Shh. Be quiet. Oh, what you looking at?
Oh, well, isn't it obvious? It's remarkable. The detail and finish of Michelangelo with the raw beauty of Monet. I've never seen anything like it.
I have. I've got one at home. Driving it every day.
What? What do you mean? That's ridiculous.
It's an exposed aggregate driveway. Beautiful.
All right, who's the artist?
Adelaide Exposed Concrete. Best on ground all year round.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Welcome back to Afternoons. It's 21 minutes past 3 o'clock and we're talking e-scooters and the dangers of them with Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers. Johnston Withers is your Adelaide legal firm with 75 years experience, and you can check out Johnston Withers at johnstonwithers.com.au, and we'd love to hear from you if you've had a close call or in fact been hit or injured while riding one. That got me thinking, Tim, what happens if you do injure yourself while riding one? Is that just too bad, too sad?
You would have certain rights, and it's interesting just how many people have been injured on e-scooters since they were introduced into Australia. I think it was about 3 or so years ago. I myself had a case fairly early on, and listeners might remember that one of the providers had a lot of issues throughout New Zealand. Particularly New Zealand, I remember, because in Launceston there's big hills and people flying down these hills, and the e-scooter would brake, just all of a sudden stop because of a software malfunction. They have a sort of a geo area that they can operate in, and if they're outside that area, they stop. And so they were malfunctioning a bit, and people were having horrendous injuries. And just researching into it, there's a associate professor, Mark Putland, who's a director of emergency medicine at Melbourne Royal Hospital. He was quoted as basically saying that they're seeing people with these injuries on a daily basis. As he said, imagine knocking out all your teeth and cutting your lips up. That's a big thing for a person to come back from, and that's the sort of thing we see when people are hurtling along at 20 kilometres an hour and go face first into the asphalt. And this was exactly the injury I acted for someone with. They were flying along and down the road. It was in the zoo sort of area precinct. And the scooter just simply stopped. She came flying off it and went straight headfirst into the road and severely fractured her nose. So it was one of the worst nasal injuries the hospital had said they'd seen in terms of just a sheer broken nose. So she had to have that surgically fixed. And so they do cause these really nasty sort of injuries. And in fact, there was a chap on one in Perth only in May this year who actually died as a result of an injury with another cyclist, strangely. Where it's treated at the scene for injuries, was taken to Fiona Stanley Hospital and died shortly after arrival through just multiple injuries. So they are they can be obviously very, very dangerous to the point of being fatal. In the particular case I had, we were able to establish that the scooter software malfunctioned, that they had done insufficient, that there hadn't been sufficient testing or what have you on the actual software and on the program, and the company paid damages to my client as a result of it. So again, it was critical to find some sort of fault and some sort of problem with the e-scooter or with its software itself. It's not as if you can just be driving one along and have an injury and you're immediately going to get a claim. You've got to have found that in some way the device has totally malfunctioned.
So what do you do if you are injured?
In those situations, well, I would report it right away. So I'd report it to the provider, and I would provide a very detailed explanation. They'll provide you with an email address, and I would provide significant detail because they can find you. They know where you are.
Of course, you've given them every bit of detail and they've tracked you.
Correct, yeah. So there's no problem with them finding you.
And would you recommend taking photos? So if you have had a crash, take photos of the bike and the area that you've been in, the terrain, yourself?
Yeah, and it's like any injuries I've spoken about before, motor vehicle, anything like that, public liability type injury. Photos are absolutely priceless. They provide a date, a time, and they obviously they will irrefutable evidence of what's happened at that time. So yes, absolutely. I'd take a video, I'd take some photos, any witness, if you can get a phone number, a name and a phone number is really useful. Like all accidents like that, if you're not, hopefully don't need to be carted to hospital. If you don't need to be carted to hospital, then you should go to your GP as soon as possible, explain the circumstance of the injury, take some photos of the injury. So these are all the sort of things that you should do, because of course it will be assumed, or it could be seen that you were at fault. That you must have been riding it in some manner that was dangerous or what have you. So important, give them a story right away, set it out, provide them with some photographs and so forth. This is all really important, and get a response from them. You might be contacted by their insurer or what have you. At that point, the person actually should get some legal advice. They've got 3 years to issue proceedings, so there's plenty of time. But it's critical that they provide that notice to the provider as soon as possible, so that it couldn't be seen that later on the provider could say, well, look, we just don't keep those records, so we just can't tell whether you're on our bike or whether you were injured this way or whatever. So an email as soon as possible, good contemporaneous note of what happened, photographs, as you say, medical appointment, all of that stuff is really, really critical.
Tim, thank you so much. That is Tim Downey there from Johnston Withers Lawyers, your Adelaide legal firm with 75 years experience. And if you'd like to get in contact with them, you can do so at johnstonwithers.com.au. We're going to take a very short break. Coming up afterwards, warning from the RAA because petrol prices are on the way up. So if you're driving around today and you can see some cheap fuel, fill up at the Bowser, and we, of course, would always love to hear from you too. If you do see any cheap fuel, call in 8223 0000. Let us know where it is.
Mike Keelan and Angie McBride, the 5AA Gardening Show.
A photograph John sent in of his holly. John, basically, in one word, 2 words, it's stuffed. I don't know what you've done.
Well, he's on the line.
Is John on the line?
Yeah, John's here.
I'm here.
Everything you need to know for a glorious garden.
What did you do?
I don't think I did anything. I might have what the problem is.
Sunday mornings from 7 on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Hi, Shayna Blaze here. As a designer, I know how tricky it can be to design the perfect bathroom. So I teamed up with Beaumont Tiles and created complete bathroom packages. Drop into Beaumont's for complete bathroom packages designed by me.
For only $12.99 per kilo, you can buy yourself epic crackling, epic crunch, epic flavour. All in Aldi's Aussie pork belly. Epic. Aldi. Good. Different.
Has your family run into a legal dispute? Have you had an injury or car accident you believe you can claim for? Has someone left a will that you want to challenge? If you find yourself needing a lawyer, you need the team at Johnston Withers. Johnston Withers is an Adelaide legal firm with 75 years experience. They have plenty of expertise in family law, personal injury, motor accident claims, wills and estates, workers' compensation, asbestos diseases and much, much more. Every Thursday, like we did just now, we'll talk about current legal issues with the legal experts from Johnston Withers Lawyers, but you can call them anytime. For free initial advice, Johnston Withers is with you. You can call them on 8231 1110, that's 8231 1110, or go to johnstonwithers.com.au.
Bonus local delivery on selected Australian-made mattresses now at Harvey Norman when you spend over $999. All the big brands: King Coil by AH Beard, Sleepmaker, Beauty Rest, Sealy Posturepedic, Sealy Optimum and Body Balance by AH Beard. Buy local, support Australian-made manufacturing and receive bonus delivery on selected Australian-made mattresses when you spend over $999. Available on in-store purchases only. Bonus local delivery on selected Australian-made mattresses now at Harvey Norman.
Are you feeling frustrated with the lack of transparency your current home care provider gives you over your funding? As one of only a few home care providers offering true self-management, Homemade manages and tracks your budget together with you, so you know exactly where your funding is going. Even better, you could enjoy up to double the hours of support you currently get due to lower fees and charges. To find out more about switching your home care package, visit homemadesupport.com.au and book a free consultation today.
Get the latest kitchen and bathroom brands at Adelaide Bathroom and Kitchen Supplies. The ABK Supplies showroom has just been updated to showcase sinkware for all budgets, including Oliveri, Abbey, Mir, Castano, BUK and classic durable fine fire clay sinks from 1901 and Turner Hastings. With finishes in polished and brushed stainless steel, brushed nickel, bronze and many other finishes. Your kitchen or laundry will be stylish and timeless. Adelaide Bathroom and Kitchen Supplies, Lower North East Road, opposite Dernancourt Village.
The mid-year event is on at Solitaire Maserati. With the Levante SUV available for immediate delivery, now is the time to own one of the world's most desired luxury performance brands. Book a test drive at solitairemaserati.com.au. DL 65541.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Michaela Kamarek. COVID cases have spiked to an alarming new high in SA, with 5,054 new infections reported today. Hospitalisations are also up. It's been revealed fragments of foot and mouth disease have been found in an undeclared beef product at Adelaide Airport. Childcare workers say they've had enough and are vowing to walk off the job as they fight for a wage increase. And the teams will come out tonight for the Crows in Port Adelaide ahead of their round 19 matches this weekend. Partly cloudy this afternoon, 17. Currently it's 17 degrees. More news at 4 o'clock and as it happens on 5AA.
Jade Robran, talking Adelaide on 1395 5AA.
Can play the guitar, Eric Clapton, can't he? And speaking of guitars, the Adelaide Guitar Festival is coming to town. I've got a couple of tickets to give away. Two groundbreaking musicians are going to come together for a night of kick-butt alternative country with a whole lot of heart. Multi-golden guitar and ARIA Award winner Fanny Lumsden and beloved also partner Jimmy Bay expertly weave together stories and song and set themselves apart as the future of country music in Australia and Adelaide. As I said, the Adelaide Guitar Festival is coming to town, and we're going to be joined tomorrow by Fanny Lumsden. She's going to be in the studio to have a bit of a chat with us, bit of a sing-along, but I do have two tickets to give away right now. It's 7 p.m. tomorrow night at the Dunstan Playhouse. So if you'd like to head along, give Tammy a buzz now on 8223 0055.
There's always a joker in the pack. There's always a lonely clown. And there is a jester, just a fool, as foolish as he can be. There's always a joker, that's the rule.
Well, pop the Cardonet.
The joker is me.
Break out the footy franks and dippity bicks. The foxy ladies of Fountain Lakes are back. Yep, Kath and Kim.
I want to be effluent, Mum. Effluent. What does that specifically entail? I'm still waiting for my Cabernet. The H is silent. Humour. I'm using humour. I couldn't give a fat rat's about my job at the call centre. It was really high stress. You know, the amount of abuse on the phone that I dished out.
Little baby Jesus? Oh, little baby Jesus, Kim, Jesus. Oh, yeah,
nice,
that's
nice. Yeah,
nice.
that's unusual.
Yeah, that's really good. Look at me, look at me, look at me.
Don't you love them? Gina Riley, Jane Turner, Magda Sabansky, Glenn Robbins and Peter Roththorn have been seen leaving a studio in Melbourne, and rumours are swirling that they're filming something very, very special, something unusual, something nice to mark their 20th anniversary of the show. Can you believe it? The first episode of Kath and Kim, it debuted back in May of 2002, and from then on, it's always been a huge smash hit. So much so that Channel 7, they paid them a multi-million-dollar deal to jump ship from the ABC to Channel 7, and it proved to be a very, very, very smart move. So what is it about these foxy ladies and their power-walking better halves? Why do we love them so much? Let's have a chat with pop culture expert from University of Melbourne, Associate Professor Lauren Rosewarne. Great to have you on the program, Lauren.
Hey,
Good
Dave.
afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
What do we love about these foxy ladies?
Look, I think that there's something similar in terms of why we hold the film The Castle in such high regard. And I think it's because it's a disruption to what we normally get delivered in terms of Australian media content. You know, Australian films often do these kind of preoccupations with the outback or rural Australia, and, you know, they're often highly produced efforts to entice an overseas audience to our, you know, natural splendour. But most Australians don't live there. Most Australians actually live in the suburbs. And that idea of seeing suburban life, even if it's a bit cringy, seeing it on screen, actually, there's an element there of seeing ourselves and laughing at ourselves. And the Australian sense of humour is often associated with that idea of the piss take, be it of someone else or even ourselves, which I think is what we're doing when we enjoy shows like Kath and Kim or The Castle.
It is so true, isn't it? And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's that each character represents a little bit of something in all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Even things like, you know, and I do this myself, that kind of pause before you pronounce something that's, you know, a non-English word. Let's say it's croissant or croissant. And, you know, there's an element there of which one do I do, because either way it feels weird. And those sort of anxieties around pronunciation, these touch everybody in society. There's no one who's immune from those little sort of cultural foibles. And again, the fashion and the silliness and some of the, you know, iconic lines, and also just the fact that there were so many beloved Australian comedians in the show as well makes, you know, if you're still saying the lines decades later, or if those characters see themselves, you know, in an Uber Eats ad again, there's something that means that there's a resonance that lasts far beyond when the show was producing and airing originally.
It first aired in 2002, so it's been a few years. It's been a while, and we've seen shows like, you know, Chris Lilly has done in the past that take the mickey out of our, you know, stereotypical Aussie characters, and that just doesn't fly now. In fact, it's been banned from TV. Will Kath and Kim still resonate all these years later?
Look, I think that it's always difficult to hit the nail on the head, or at least to pinpoint what our future anxieties are going to be culturally, right? It's, for example, when the earliest incarnations of Chris Lilly's material, let's say, for example, We Can Be Heroes, when that was first airing, I don't think when people were enjoying it, they were necessarily identifying that in a really short number of years in the future, we'd actually feel quite cringy watching it. I don't think that, you know, on the surface, I don't think there are as many issues with Kath and Kim, given that most of it is a class commentary rather than things about race. But I don't doubt that, you know, if you did a scene-by-scene analysis, even now there'll be things that we feel a little uncomfortable about laughing at. And I think in 5, 10, 15 years, there'll probably be more of those things because we're going to have a new batch of concerns in the future. And that's the way things go with the media. It doesn't mean we should feel guilty about laughing, but more so it's an acknowledgement of where society moves as related to things like standards and humour.
I feel like we're so politically correct all the time. Chris Lilly was one of my all-time favourites, and I laugh so hard at his jokes. And that's what they are. They are jokes, and they're not meant to hurt anybody. Kath and Kim, hilarious. They do take a bit of a jibe, and you're right, it is reflective of class. But then you've got, you know, Prue and True, the snobby, well-to-do ladies as well in it. It covers all gamuts, and men, women, young, old. It's what needs to be in this latest one, do you think, to be just as successful?
Look, it seems like, again, from what I've read, it's probably not going to be an entire episode, but rather a few sketches that are being filmed now to supplement a kind of retrospective show. And that will probably air on one of the networks, kind of like we've seen them do with, say, Hey Hey at Saturday, where it's a mixture of a little bit of new content, but mostly old. And I suspect it's like that. And as is the case with all things like reboots and retrospectives, you've kind of got to keep true to what you were doing originally. You know, it's not going to be like the Sex and the City reboot where you're going to have to fix up all your years of mistakes and try and sort of speak to the new culture, but rather give us a little more of what we liked, and that's probably enough. And I think, you know, that idea of just keeping in line with what were the things that the show did really well and punching up, you know, sort of the idea of criticising the very wealthy and snobbish, I think is partly, that was the genesis, at least, of those characters being in the early sketch comedy pre-Kath and Kim. We saw those characters in other shows, and I think a little more of that would be quite enough for audiences, as opposed to trying to do full justice to the show or where the audience is at in terms of comedy.
Spot on. Thank you, Associate Professor Lauren Rosewarne. Thanks for your
Anytime.
company.
Thanks, Jade.
See you later. Pop culture expert there at the University of Melbourne. They're very clever. And then, like we just spoke about then, just iconic lines, isn't there? Look at my hunk of spunk, my second best friend. And who could forget the FIVEAA?
Kill you great hunk of spunk. I want to be effluent, Mum. Effluent. What does that specifically entail? I'm still waiting for my card, mate. The H is silent. Humour. I'm using humour. I couldn't give a fat rat's about my job at the call centre. It was really high stress. The amount of abuse on the phone that I dished out.
Little baby Jesus? Oh, little baby Jesus, Kim Jesus.
Oh, yeah, nice.
That's really good. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
Warren, look at my...
Look at my. I love these sorts of shows, be it Kath and Kim. They just make your day. If they're on... One that comes to mind is Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely love it. At the end of the day, it's been a rotten sort of a day. You've been hitting around, hit here. Turn the telly on, and you get a chuckle. And how good is that?
So good. And do you pop open your Chardonnay?
No, not really. No. I generally order a pizza or something like that. Yeah.
It's so true, isn't it? We need to bring back these really funny, because we can still laugh at ourselves, us Aussies, and this is the epitome of that.
I think it's great. But if you can't laugh at yourself, don't bother, because it just makes you feel so good at the end of the day. That's me personally. And I go to bed on a happy note, and there's nothing better than going to bed on a happy note. I just think it's great, and I love it. Should be more of them. There's quite a few I can think of. I can't think of off the top of my head, but there is a few on this. Like the Goonies and the old British comedies on the buses, Carry On movies. You've got to laugh with them. You laugh with them and also laugh at them.
Absolutely agree with you, Warren. Thank you. Stay on the line because you have won a Wallace Cinema Pass. Catch a movie this week at Mitcham, Mount Barker or Noarlunga. And for sessions, you can visit wallace.com.au. Catch something nice and unusual at Wallace Cinemas. They are so funny. And speaking of iconic lines, I don't know if you heard Boris Johnson. He overnight took part in his final Prime Minister's questions and delivered a brilliant final exit line that he pinched from Arnold Schwarzenegger's title character from the 91 science fiction action film Terminator 2. This is his farewell speech. Bye-bye, Boris.
I want to use the last few seconds, Mr. Speaker, to give some words of advice to my successor, whoever he or she may be. Number one, stay close to the Americans, stick up for the Ukrainians, stick up for freedom and democracy everywhere. Cut taxes and deregulate wherever you can to make this the greatest place to live and invest, which it is. I love the Treasury, but remember that if we'd always listened to the Treasury, we wouldn't have built the M25 or the Channel Tunnel. Focus on the road ahead. Focus on the road ahead, but always remember to check the rear view mirror. And remember, above all, it's not Twitter that counts. It's the people that sent us here. And yes, the last few years have been the greatest privilege of my life. And it's true that I helped to get the biggest Tory majority for 40 years and a huge realignment in UK politics, Mr. Speaker. We've transformed our democracy and restored our national independence, as my right honourable friend says. I've helped to get this country through a pandemic and helped save another country from barbarism. And frankly, that's enough to be going on with. Mission largely accomplished. For now, I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank all the wonderful staff of the House of Commons. I want to thank all my friends and colleagues. I want to thank my right honourable friend opposite, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank everybody here and Hasta la vista, baby. Thank you.
Hasta la vista, baby. It got us thinking, what are some of the brilliant one-liners at the end of movies? What's your favourite? Can you think of one? 8223 This one here is an all-time classic, I reckon. It's a line spoken by Rick Blaine, played by Humphrey Bogart in the film Casablanca. Now, at the end of Casablanca, if you remember, Rick Blaine has lost everything and he stays behind in Casablanca and lets the beautiful Lisa board a plane and escape.
It might be a good idea for you to disappear from Casablanca for a while. There's a free French garrison over at Brazzaville. I could be induced to arrange a passage.
My letter of transit? I could use a trip. But it doesn't make any difference about our bet. You still owe me 10,000 francs.
And that 10,000 francs should pay our expenses.
Our expenses?
Mm-hmm.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
I love it. What about this one? Wizard of Oz?
But anyway, Toto, we're home. Home. And this is my room. And you're all here. And I'm not going to leave here ever, ever again. Because I love you all. And, oh, Annie M., there's no place like home.
There is no place like home. No, and that still stands, doesn't it? I think I use that about once a week. And what about this famous line that's spoken in Some Like It Hot, the 1959 movie? Now, every writer dreams of crafting the perfect last line. So, we thought this one isn't too bad. It's when Jerry finally admits to his fiancée that he's a man.
But anyway, Toto, we're home.
No, let's try again. No, we don't have it. Oh, I'll bring it to you another time. But anyway, right at the very end, it just says, well, nobody's perfect. And it's true, nobody's perfect. We're going to take a really short break. Coming up afterwards, a warning from the RAA. If you see cheap petrol out there, jump into the Bowser because prices are going up, up, up.
He's got one of the best kicks in the AFL.
Brilliant kick, Brody Smith. They'll bring the house down.
And each week, Crow star Brodie Smith joins Rowey's Sports Show.
Thanks to ACET Couriers.
Need something delivered for your business? Don't risk it.
ACET.
With ACET Couriers.
Whether a hobby or a full-blown dairy and livestock farm, they all have one thing in common: the need for good quality steel to keep livestock safe and secure. At Knorr Metals, we have just that. From rural fencing and gates to droppers, loading ramps and more, you'll find what you need for your farm. And if we don't, we'll source it for you quickly and at the best price. No matter what kind of farm you have, we'll help you out. At Knorr Metals, 255 Grand Junction Road, Ottaway.
Get out of the elements and into the Dave Benson Caravans Show. This completely undercover show will be packed with all the latest in Aussie caravans with manufacturers from across the country. Network RV, Essential and Highline Caravans, Cub Camper Trailers, home of 12-volt, Austral Annexes and more on display with exclusive deals, plus a sausage sizzle, face painting and more with free entry and parking. The Dave Benson Caravans Show, 5 days only from July 27 to Sunday 31st, 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
You don't have to jump on a plane to find pals from around the world, or even leave the airport. Powerfield Airport Liquor Store has thousands of pals in a huge old airport hangar. So maybe their pals are whiskies from Scotland, Ireland and Japan, but that's just some of their pals. With over 300 craft beers, 500 whiskies and over 2,000 wines. New pals from around the world are closer than you think. Powerfield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Powerfield.
BET Group Global are driven to create beautiful environments for people with disabilities to thrive in. But it's more than that. Their staff have big hearts for empowering people to make choices and live independently. They never stop learning from participants, families, stakeholders and free ongoing training. Qualified, passionate support staff love working with BET Group because their passion is celebrated. If this sounds like you, reach out at betgroupglobal.com.au.
Cruising is on the horizon with Phil Hoffman Travel. 2023-24 Princess Cruises offer unique itineraries throughout Australia or even a South Pacific crossing to Vancouver. Cruise into Adelaide on board the Majestic Princess Northern Explorer itinerary for 21 nights, sailing 7th of March 2023 from Sydney, starting from $3,759 per person. Secure your cabin today. Phil Hoffman Travel, proudly South Australian and here for you. Visit pht.com.au.
There's more value at Coles with $20 off when you spend $250 or more online. Just enter the code VALUE20 at checkout. Shop now at coles.com.au. Coles. Value the Australian way. Offer ends August 2. T's and C's apply.
Hi, Susanna Toop here. 30 days. That's the average time a rental property stays vacant. But at Toop & Toop, we find tenants in half the time, saving landlords an average of $860 a year. Who are you trusting to look after your biggest investment? Toop.com.au.
$13.95. Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Welcome back to Afternoons. A couple of messages coming through. Hi, Jade. They need to bring back the Comedy Company show. Couple of days. Best laugh. So funny, wasn't it? What about Kylie Mole? She goes. And then Uncle Arthur. That was brilliant. I would love to see that brought back. Hey, it's Saturday returned, which rated really, really well. And basically the critics said everybody just loves the old. Everything old is new again. We've got Kim from Tea Tree Gully on the line. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Jade. Good afternoon. What about Gone with the Wind, Clark Gable and Vivian Lee? Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
That is all time. Yes. Spot on. I love that. Do you know what? I need to put my hand up and claim something terrible. I've never watched it.
No.
How bad's that?
Terrible.
Terrible. I need to put that on my to-do list, and I'm going to do that.
Show me the money.
I like it. Touche. Thank you, Kim. Hello, Barry.
How you doing?
Really good. How about you?
Okay, Midnight Cowboy, 1967 Film of the Year with John Voight and Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Now, he's looking at the mirror. He's in New York, and he looks in the mirror and he says, "My name's Joe Buck, and I'm one hell of a stud." I love it.
Mirror, mirror on
I
the
know
wall.
it's a little bit comical for me. It is anyway.
Very good. I love it. And then I've got a message here. Jade, please play the line from Dirty Harry. Go ahead, make my day. I can say it, but I can't play it. I love it. So many great one-liners, isn't there? Let's chat now with Mark Borlase from RAA because he wants you, if you see some cheap fuel around, to fill up. Mark, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's a good time to be trying to save some money by filling up right now.
Well, is that because it's going uppity up, up, up?
Yeah, so what we've got is we've got prices of $2 a litre in the market right now, but there's still some out there at $1.60. So it's likely by tomorrow morning they may all be up at $2. So if you see anything around $1.60 on your drive home, throw on the indicator and pull in and grab it, because if you miss it, it could add about $24 to the cost of filling your car.
So why is it going up so much tomorrow?
Well, it's part of the price cycle that we're back into now. So it's at $2, it's still 30 cents cheaper than the last spike we had a fortnight ago. So although it's a big jump, we're actually starting to trend down on the average price, and hopefully with what's happening in the world supply of crude getting a bit better, that will start to plateau price-wise. We might start to see some, at least, consistent pricing in the future, not like the last 6 cycles we've had. Each time the price has been higher and higher.
What about diesel prices? What are your predictions there? Because that seems to be still really high, but it looks like petrol prices are dipping a little.
Yeah, diesel's a funny one because 2/3 of the fuel sold in Australia is diesel. Most of it's bought by companies, trucking companies and all that, and they buy it on a contract, so they're not subject to the retail market, so we don't see those same sort of price cycles. But yeah, diesel has been staying high, and the margins have been staying high, and we're continuing to watch that, see when it's actually starting to get excessive.
Do we have to start getting used to paying these higher prices around, that $1.70 plus?
I think for the next couple of months, until we sort out what's happening in Europe with the Ukraine and Russia and the world oil prices, if the Middle East starts producing more oil to take up some of that supply problems, we might see prices come down. We saw Joe Biden on the weekend over with the Saudis, talking to them and trying to talk them into increasing production so that they can, as I say, help to lower the price of fuel.
So the advice is, if you see it cheap, pull over right now.
Yep, and make sure you're using your fuel app to find where that cheapest petrol is. But yeah, look for anything around $1.60 right now.
Beautiful. Mark Borlase, thank you as always.
No worries, take care.
Cheers, mate. Have a good afternoon. Mark Borlase there from RAA. Thank you very much for joining us today. I got lots of emails and messages that I didn't get around to reading out, so thank you. We really do appreciate everybody's input. Have a lovely afternoon. Rowey Sports Show is up next, and I look forward to joining you again tomorrow. Have a fabulous afternoon. Bye.
With Aldi's Aussie Navel Oranges now just $4.49 for a 3 kilo pack, you can load up on